is also an action node, but I list it separately because it's the universal adapter. This lets you connect to any API when it's not on the pre-built list. The built-in integrations are really just pre-filled HTTP requests, so once you learn this, you can hook into almost anything. Logic nodes control how data flows. They can filter, branch, merge, or loop. Like, if yes, do this, if no, do that. Or they could merge data from multiple streams into one. We'll use some of these in the next build. The AI agent node is what powers the final build. It connects to a language model, adds memory, and lets you attach as many tools as you want. You give it goals and guidance, and it decides which tools to use based on your input and its own reasoning. That's my simplified grouping. N8N organizes them a little bit differently, but this structure makes it easier to see how everything fits together. Time for something actually useful. We're going to build a form-driven workflow. When someone submits a sponsorship inquiry, N8N will route it based on the answers, respond to them by email automatically, then log it to a Google Sheet. I'm using sponsorship intake as an example because it's relevant to me, but the pattern works for a ton of use cases: lead gen, sales funnels, support requests. Basically, anytime a form is filled out, you can trigger a smart sequence of actions and branch the path based on rules you've set. So I will create a new workflow, then add a trigger. I'll select form submission. I'm going to use their default test forms. That's for demoing. Same idea applies no matter what you're using. Like for our actual form in CRM, we use HubSpot. Works with any of this. Now I'll add the form fields I want. So company name, contact name, email, website, budget. This one I'll switch to number instead of text. And notes I'll switch to text area. I've got this all filled out. Now I can go up and click execute step and it will open up the form for me to fill out. I will do OpenAI, Sam Altman. I'll use my email so I can see the emails that get sent. Then website. For budget, how about $500,000? Then notes. People are mad about GPT-5. Save us. Then I'll submit that. Now back in N8N, I see all the data as the output it's sending to the next node. And something very helpful here is this little pin button up here. That lets you pin the data. When I click this, I won't have to fill out this form every time I want to test different parts of this workflow. This data will stay here and send to the next node every time. So that's a super important button. Next, we're going to set up our first logic node. I'm going to route these forms based on how much money they're offering, so I know if it's worth my time. Then it will auto-respond by email based on that as well. And this will be under flow, then is down here called switch. I'll create some simple rules, and for each new rule I add, it will create a separate branch leaving this node. So I'll drag over the budget field and drop it into the first box. Then from the drop down, I can choose my options. I want a number that is less than. Now I can enter a number here, 1 million. Then I'll add another rule, drag budget over, then is greater than or equal to 1 million. That's all I need. Then back on the canvas, you can see the two outputs leaving this node. The top will be if the sponsor budget is less than 1 million, which is outrageous. Clearly not worth my time. Basically just an insult. Then the lower path is 1 million or more, which is basically the lowest number where I'd maybe consider a shout out. And then based on those completely reasonable numbers, I want to auto-respond by email. So I'll be adding a Gmail node to each branch. But first, let's actually test this step. All right, now we can see that data is routed through only the top path. So I'll add my first Gmail node there. I set up a new N8N account for this, so none of my credentials are set up. That way I'll be sure to not skip any steps you'll see when you first start. And to keep the first build as simple as possible, I used the N8N cloud version. It is more steps to set up Google credentials when self-hosting. But a very useful feature here, you can click on this documentation link. That links directly to a page that has step-by-step instructions to set that up. Anytime you're stuck on something, you can either click that, or asking ChatGPT is very helpful too. When you get errors, you can usually just screenshot them and drop it into ChatGPT, then you'll get a step-by-step fix. Now, I went through the steps in the documentation and got my client ID and client secret. Now that I've done that, all I'll need to do is just copy and paste that into those same fields for any of the other Google products when I set up the credentials. But now for the email this will be sent to, I'll drag in the email box from the input. Now that will change automatically to whichever email was submitted on the form. Can do something similar in the subject line, hello company. I'll do email type text. Then I need a friendly message, so I'll bring in the name field, and we can see it fills it out below. Sam Altman. How dare you waste my time with this nonsense? Who do you think you're talking to? Pretty fair response to being lowballed like that, and how I respond to most of my emails. But now I will test that step. It was successful, so